YouTube Nation, college football fans, what's going on? Hey, it's your Midwest Maverick here. It's Monday, Columbus Day, so happy Columbus Day if you're fortunate enough to be off work. A rewarding day off. I'm going to recap the college football weekend here. Probably be a pretty short video, run through some games, highlight some things, run through my model, and discuss a couple things, and then do a quick outlook or preview on week 7 for this week. Had some good wins, tough losses, some close games. Weather was a huge factor again this weekend. I think I saw at least half a dozen games were delayed due to weather in some aspect and shitty conditions. But hey, that's the way it goes in football, right? So, yeah, like I said, let me just go walk through these and talk about it. Like I said, looking for everyone's feedback on this. You learn a lot just from other people, their take on things, information they have, you don't have. That's the whole idea about this, I'm not all knowing, trying to set the high percentages on wins, making the best bets I can, based on several different factors. So, there's no such thing as too much information. All right. It's just it depends on how you use it in making your picks and making these bets. So, all right, let's go through week 6 recap of the college football season. All right, so here's the model that I've been putting out for the last few weeks. As you can see over here, we're just overall 60%. As a gambler, bettor trying to make some money, that's ideal. Essentially, if you make a bet on every game and you come out 60% on your picks, then there should be a nice little chunk of profit, depending on how you bet. But that would just be straight on the against the spreads or the totals. So you see here the best bets that the model had was just under 50%. Obviously, that's not ideal. The lean was 70%. So the teams that the model is saying you should lean to bet on to cover the spread was 70%, which is obviously really good. And then the stayaways or the fades, if you picked against these teams here, from West Virginia down to Buffalo, you were 53% correct. But ultimately, I tend to, unless I see something I really like, I'll just stay away from the game entirely and not bet on it. So with all said and done, you'd be 60% between the leans and the best if you just bet those. All right, so starting with the top, man, my number one pick, I put this out in a video too, a lock of the week. It's the best bet on the board with the model, for the week. It was Syracuse laying 3.5 at Pittsburgh. All week and everywhere I saw the line being this small was ridiculous. I did see one prediction where they had Pittsburgh losing in a close one, but man, I watched most of this game, and this is another game that the weather was a factor and it got delayed a little bit. Syracuse jumped out to a quick 14-0 lead. It looked like, hey, like the lock that I expected. But then they just fell apart, turned the ball over, allowed a fumble recovery for TD. I don't know if it was field conditions or what, or Syracuse just can't play outside on the road when they're a favorite. I don't know, but I mean, I agree with the model still. I agree why they were the best pick. If you look at who Pittsburgh played and their results of their games and the way they played, Syracuse should have rolled in there and at least won by a touchdown, which they would have if the overtime wouldn't even happen if that stupid fumble recovery and the touchdown. The dude's forward progress would even stop anyway. So anyway, but once again, that's the way it goes. I hate to see the top pick fall short. That's a real punch in the gut, kick in the nuts, whatever you want to call it. But hey, you move on, you learn from it. I'm going to be skeptical about picking Syracuse in the future as a road favorite, just because the way I saw them play. In the play calling, they run it, get 7 yards on first down, gashing the defense, and then they throw it to the sideline, horizontally to the sideline for no gain. Like I don't understand a lot of this. That's not what. Obviously, I'm not placing bets. We're not placing bets based on that kind of decision making. So, like I said, we take the loss there. Going down, Akron. I mean, they were 70% on the power index. I don't know what the hell happened there, and it's why you got to be careful with betting these FCS games or bottom feeder on the FBS games, because there's a lot of unknowns in those. It's Georgia Tech. So I actually ended up disagreeing with the model on this, just from a lot of different parameters. I was liking Louisville late, even though the model has Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech obviously had a convincing win. I didn't realize how bad Louisville is against the run, and that was obvious. I don't even know how many passes Georgia Tech had, but I bet it's less than a half dozen. So the model was right on that, with nine confidence points high on there. And a very convincing win over Louisville right out of the gate. So Utah State, that's one of those. Like I said, those is one of those money picks where they're getting points and they're favored on the power index. Going forward, whenever you see these, you want to take it. This is 70, 80%. I think this week it went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It went like 5 for 7 this week in that scenario. All right. If I highlight them in yellow and you see my model, you want to take a hard look at that. So these three here, right? Best picks: Utah State, Florida, and Air Force. All won outright, and they're getting points. So that was free points. West Michigan, that was a close cover. I think they actually won by 3. The line was at 4. You could have got it. I think it saw it at 3.5 as well. At some point. I changed that pick. I disagreed with the model. So, I counted this as a loss towards the model, but I ended up taking, and I posted in the comment section on the video to take EMU and the points. Stanford got crushed. I think that's mostly due to Love being out. I don't know. I really don't know what kind of team. I think Stanford is way overrated. Going down the line here, a couple of losses. Baylor, Kansas State. Kansas State won that game. I think Baylor's a very good team, but once again, they're favored on the power index to win the game, 70%. And the model liked it, 5 confidence points. That was just a tough loss. And at home. And Kansas State's played Texas pretty tough. So you go up against Texas defense at home, almost pulled out the upset, and then you go face a Baylor team. Your confidence is up. A&M ended up winning that game against Kentucky. That was a good game. Touchdown late to win. In OT, I think. Yeah, OT. So the model was good on that. Marshall, I'm not even going to touch. I don't know what exactly happened there. Cincy convincing win. Fresno was convincing win in Nevada. Iowa was convincing win. That was my second lock of the week. That's just one of those single-digit lines. Should have been double-digit. Miami, wow. You talk about Miami being a letdown. I actually didn't bet this game just because of the rivalry. Florida State's terrible. And everywhere I saw the cappers and everything were picking Miami to stomp them. They're just a farce. You're going forward, be careful betting on Miami, depending on who they play. Louisiana Tech. I didn't bet in that game. I know the model like Lou Tech over UAB 9. That was a lot of points for that matchup. I read a lot afterwards, after put out all the videos, that UAB was expected to win outright. So I don't know what you guys pay attention to aside from YouTube and some videos and stuff, but I hope you get notice of certain things and you jump on it. And like I said, this model is obviously not 100%. This is if you want to utilize it coupled with your knowledge or to verify your picks or bounce it off. If you're really like, so for instance, if you're really liking Iowa right out of the gate, and then you see, you use this model, the model likes it, I like it, it's just reassurance, and know that you're not high and right, and you're not off tune with your bets and your picks. So UAB was one of those where I saw a lot of folks taking them as an underdog or liking them. OU smash mouth game, they came back. Man, OU's defense is just like Swiss cheese. Texas looks really good. That Red River rivalry, that's hard to say. Herman, I didn't see that stat till late. 11-1 against the spread when he's been dogs. Wow. I actually liked OU in this game to win by a couple touchdowns. I thought they're just far better team. Explosive offense with Murray, and it wasn't at Texas, but Texas, man, that defense and that offense impressed me. They're going to be, Big 12. They're going to be a problem going forward, and I expect to see that matchup again in the Big 12 championship. Going down Wisconsin, depending on where you got that line, it was anywhere from 17 to 20 throughout the week. They ended up winning by like 17. Should have been a 20+ win. I didn't watch the game or anything, but close to the line. One of those. Pretty much a push. Unless you got him at 20, then you lost the bet. But that's why they're on the bubble. They're my Orange's bubble picks. So you see they're on the bubble. Same thing, North Texas, man. That was just bad all around for them. Georgia Southern. Southern Alabama is like the worst team, and versus that competition, Georgia Southern at home, they were expected to roll, and they did. Arizona got the job done, home versus Cal. Illinois got the job done as expected. Should have been one of my locks. Looked more into it throughout the week. That was a revenge game as well. They lost to Rutgers last year, and Rutgers is just horrible. So that was good. Arizona State ended up losing in a close one at Colorado. It was one of those coin flip games. They had you leaning because they were favored on the power index, but dogs on the line. Once again, on the road, but they're on the road at Colorado. It's one of those conditions you just got to pay attention to. I don't understand how they were favored on the power index at Colorado, but Colorado pulled it out late. Let's skip through some of these here. South Carolina, Missouri, that was bang bang. That was back and forth. Came down to the last second. Missouri is just one of those hard road teams to pick. I know the line moved a lot. They were dogs. 2, +2, and then moved up to actually I saw favored by 1, but I think it's swayed because all the money was getting put on Missouri based on their hanging with somewhat with Georgia, and South Carolina hasn't really done anything. Going at Mississippi State, that was one of those, man. If you watch my video, I was just like, I don't know how you take Mississippi State, but I don't know how you bet against the power index and them getting 3.5 at home. Man, they crushed Auburn. I don't think the score is very indicative of how that game went. Fitz had a really good game, but that's just one of those road games. It's hard to take Auburn in that spot, and there's a reason why that line was so low. I know a lot of folks had Auburn based on Mississippi State's recent losses, Kentucky, Florida. But the model had that right in a win outright. Hawaii ended up winning by 3, so that hit. Liked Hawaii in that spot. Late touchdown, won it at home versus Hawaii. I actually expect that game to be a lot more harder scoring. That was kind of shocking to see that 17-14 finish. Going on down here, and Notre Dame, that was a convincing win. That was another one of my lock considerations going into the week. They handled Virginia Tech and that freshman quarterback, or that new quarterback, whoever they have, I think he's a freshman, pretty handily. The defense was rocking. Notre Dame's going to be a problem, and they're going to be. Sounds like they have a really good chance to be in the top 4 in college football playoff, which I think they're deserving. If you look at their competition, I think in convincing wins, I think they're very deserving of it. I think they're a really good team. Got that new quarterback in there, made the right call with benching Wimbush. Ohio State, they lost the cover late. They allowed Arkansas to score in the last minute or whatever it was. The model had this wrong, but it was a 1 point. I'm sorry. No, I'm thinking of Alabama. I'm sorry, I was thinking Alabama line at 35. But Ohio State, yeah, I don't exactly know what the final score was on that, but they didn't end up covering versus Indiana. I think they were probably had a hangover or pretty gassed from that Penn State come from behind win last week. So they didn't end up covering, but they were 96 on the FPI and a 25 line. That line was just too high. Boise, man, they fell apart. San Diego State always plays them tough, and they did. They had them. They just figured them out early and just stepped on the gas. And I was surprised. Boise at home on that blue turf. Usually they're pretty dependable, but the line at 14, they just didn't get it done. Georgia convincing win versus Vandy. Toledo. I didn't bet that game versus Bowling Green. In-state rival. I don't say rival, whatever they are, but matchup. Ole Miss stomped Monroe. That was to be expected. Washington State stomped Oregon State. That's to be expected. All these ones here. And Clemson, too. So I want to talk about Clemson for a minute. So Clemson, man, I saw a lot during the week. I could not, for the life of me, understand Wake Forest and how people were taking Wake Forest to cover. It just everything. Lawrence was probable. That line was low at 17, and then it moved to like 20 all the way throughout the week to 20.5. Wake Forest has been getting crushed by good teams like Notre Dame, So I didn't even understand this. And Clemson needed that statement, make a statement, and have a smashing victory to stay in the top four, with all those close wins. So, I really like this. They're one of my locks in my video when I was putting out the model. So yeah, that was dumb, I think, and I disagree with everybody. I was getting all kinds of, even in my network of people. They're like, nah, man, Wake Forest, and Clemson's not that good. And it's like, man, I don't really that front. They dread playing that front four of Clemson. So I think it's a lot to do with the 14-point loss last year. Michigan covered. Michigan handled Maryland as expected. And here's all the stay away, or the games that the model's saying, if you're going to bet against these teams. And like I said, it went pretty good, 70%. This is the model, this is the case of numbers don't lie, right? So, taking in some factors here, started with Houston, I think Friday night when Houston played. Couldn't cover. Troy ended up covering close. That was actually 17, so it was a half point. So that was a close. But, you're not taking Troy to win by 17. Hopefully you're not taking Troy to win by 17 if it's 16 and a half. I always make bets based on, hey, I think that they can at least win by a touchdown or not, or a touchdown over the spread. Oklahoma State, that's just a bad spot for them. Iowa State's tough. And, Oklahoma State's just falling off the map here as of late. Bama, that was the one I was talking about earlier. I messed up on it. I got confused with Ohio State. But Bama, yeah, they allowed Arkansas to score late and cover, losing by 34. So I bet there's a lot of pissed off, unhappy bettors that had Bama. That was a shitty position. On the road at Arkansas, I don't think I saw a stat that Arkansas has never lost at home by more than 35 or more. Bama's just trying to stay healthy, and they jumped out obviously with a quick. It was like 28-7 or whatever, but they're not interested in covering spreads and shit. Saban don't care about that crap. So stay healthy, get in the play, stay in the playoff, and they're gonna win. I shouldn't say they're gonna, but I don't see them losing at all this year, even in the playoff. They're just that much better than everybody else. Memphis ended up covering the 35 versus UConn. I didn't like that. I would have took the points all day on that. But UConn's that bad. Michigan State sucks. Northwestern handled them. So, the model said didn't like Michigan State, and they were 10-point, ended up 10.5, 10-point favorites. Home versus Northwestern, bad weather. That was a bad loss by Michigan State. And Washington, too, that was another one. Everybody thought that people were stupid for taking the 3 touchdowns with UCLA, but UCLA played some tough competition where they played teams that only had 1 loss all year. So it's a rough spot on the road. And I think Washington only ended up winning by a touchdown. But if you took the points on that, good job. It was a good win. I saw a few of those picks and people heckling them for how Washington was so much better and we're going to crush them. But with Browning and Gaskins, whatever the hell his name is. And we went down here, so Temple ended up covering, UCF ended up covering, Troy covered, UNLV did not, Ohio did not, and Houston did not. Buffalo ended up covering by 10 at CMU, and CMU had I saw a record of 10-1 versus Buffalo all time. So I took a bet with CMU there, lost that one, and close one. So, like I said, this is, so far each week, we're staying around 60%, 55, 60%. Week 4 was like 70%. So, it's making money. And if you put your take on football coupled with this model, you're probably going to end up pretty good. You know, I'm not going to say numbers don't lie because a lot of times they do. But, when you're seeing percentages in the black, then, it's working for a reason. All right, let's do a quick preview of this week. Just going down the matchups here. Not gonna touch these other games. They're just your Texas Tech, TCU. That'll probably be a pretty good game. I think Texas Tech will probably come out. TCU's not that good. They've like 3 straight losses. Texas Tech's offense is pretty prolific. Let me see here, going down here. Arizona, Utah. Utah's at home, coming off that big win at Stanford. Utah's looking good. Tulsa, I'm not sure what that line's going to be versus UCF. And like I said, this is just the matchups for the week in the schedule. I haven't looked at any lines at all yet. Opening lines. I like that Tulsa in a spot here. They just covered and almost won versus Houston. Or maybe they did win. I'm not exactly sure. I have to check that score. Can't remember who ended up winning that game or not. No, they did. Tulsa did win. That's right. All right, so check that out. I'll be paying close attention to that. Ohio State, Minnesota. Nothing to touch there. I'm not sure what that line's going to be, but Minnesota's then turning out to be not that very good. Florida, Vanderbilt. Should be a convincing win by Florida. Auburn should bounce back versus Tennessee. Iowa, Indiana. Targeting Iowa in that. Northwestern, Nebraska. Northwestern at home should handle Nebraska. Oklahoma State, Kansas State. Oklahoma State's in a rough spot. They're falling off as of late, and Kansas State's playing a lot better. But I'm interested to see what the line is on that. Duke, Georgia Tech. That should probably end up being a good game. Expect Duke to bounce back. Georgia Tech's not that good, depending if they can run the ball down someone's throat or not. Louisville, BC. Man, if Dillon's healthy, take BC all day. Louisville cannot stop. They couldn't stop me in high heels on ice. Wow. And I'm fat and slow, so. Notre Dame, Pitt. That'll be in the 20s. Notre Dame should roll. LSU, Georgia. Be a really good game. Expect Georgia to pull that out, though, but it is in the Bayou, so interesting to see what that line will be. Oregon, Washington. That'd be a good one as well. Probably a small line there. Obviously, with Washington probably being the favorite, probably by 3 or so. Or maybe not. Maybe they'll be dogs at Oregon based on that performance at UCLA. Let's see. And Oregon playing pretty well. Penn State, Michigan State. Penn's going to roll. Man, Michigan State is not very good. Texas is home versus Baylor. That's pretty obvious. Just going down here to some other games here. West Virginia, Iowa State. That's a letdown spot. Iowa State plays tough at home. West Virginia, man, Greer, and they didn't cover. They ended up, man, wow, 4 turnovers and three interceptions and a fumble versus Kansas. And you're going to Iowa State now. Good luck. Miami, Virginia. Miami, wow, that's I'd take Virginia that all day. Colorado, USC down here. Michigan, oh man, Michigan, Wisconsin. That'll be a really good game. Those teams are pretty well evenly matched and similar styles and stuff. So that'll be a really good game at the Big House. That's another one. It'll be interesting to see what that line is. Pretty sure Wisconsin will be favored by a little bit, but I bet this is one of those cases where Wisconsin is favored, but dogs, or favored on the line or in the spread, and Michigan is favored on the power index percentage. Ole Miss, Arkansas. That'll probably end up being pretty close. Ole Miss sucks versus FSB teams. All right, so hey, that's Week 7 preview. Like and subscribe. Midwest Maverick. Like I said, this is only my 3rd week. I'm trying to improve this thing as I go, so bear with me. I like talking football. Shoot me a comment or whatever on one of my videos, and we can chat back and forth. If you like what I'm putting out, or not, give me some. I like constructive criticism. I heard enough on the Syracuse pick already. But hey, happy Monday. I'll be sending out my picks in the model probably be Wednesday. Typically, I'm looking at Wednesday college football and then Thursday NFL, with a couple other lock pick videos here and there. So, like I said, check me out, Midwest Maverick Sports. Have a good week, and when you're making these bets, bet smart. Put smart money. Do your homework. Try not to make any blind bets. You shouldn't. No guessing is authorized. All right. So Midwest Maverick signing off. Have a good week.